I can mute that one. I can mute this one. See if I actually go live here. See if a restream is nice to me. All right, we are live on Kick. YouTube is being stupid. There we go. I am live on YouTube as well. Let me make sure my sound's working though. Okay. Let me make sure my sound is working over here. All right, sound is functioning everywhere. Yay. All right, people have been talking to me and I've gotten a few DMs and whatnot. I'm live on the YouTubes. I am. I decided I was going to try kicking YouTube today. Because I'm just doing different stuff. I'm just going over how I get set up for campaigns on, like, in this case, Roll20. When I do an online. Because I was explaining to some people when I do... by the way, hi, Tomix. Hopefully you're staying warm. It is, as you can see with my little temperature set up here, 20 Fahrenheit, -6 Celsius. Feels like 8, -13 at the moment. It's only going to get cooler because the sun will be going down in a few hours. Anyway. Proper wizard. Dabs the coffee off of his mustache. And of course, you know, I start streaming. The cats hear me talking downstairs. And they're like, time to run around like idiots. I actually had, I brought Graham down here briefly, but he was growling so much because he doesn't understand the basement. And he doesn't understand how to deal with the basement yet. He was very intimidated, which kept him quiet for a while. And then I let him back upstairs, and he's like, guys, I was in the basement. Let us run out our frustrations. And he's just been running. Then he took a nap, and now he's back up. But anyway, hello, Barney. Oh no, that is not outside right now. That is just a little video of snow. Let me hide this one. That's just a nice little picture of the outside. I wish that was my outside right now because I love heavy snow. But that's just outside or somewhere else, some video. You got 21F. Does that mean I'm winning? Yes. Do you not have a wind chill right now? Because we've got winds whipping across the plains here, and I'm on a hill, so it's extra windy. It's fun times. And I'll be updating that every once in a while. I'll just check and see what it is. And for those folks like Barney over there who like to use the Celsius, I'm going to try and make sure I translate the temperature properly. All right, has not changed in the last half hour or so. The real fake cat. That is a real fake cat up there. There's a real fake Calvino. Charlie was just in here, but he was too rambunctious, and he was chewing on my fingers while I was trying to do stuff, and I had to let him back outside. No real snow. We have a little bit of snow left over right now, but most of it had turned into either ice because it got warm enough that it started to melt, or it just melted away. So, when I'm talking about setting up a campaign, I've told this to a few other DMs when they're running things, and they're all like, oh my God, that is such a good idea. And I didn't realize that I was doing something that DMs didn't do, because I like to have a depot for everything. So when I create something like Roll20, like this campaign, this is bare bones. When I would normally run this, I'd have a syllabus and that's it. But since I have to do this for Roll20, I have to set all these locations up. But I have the first tab here is the NPC stable. And I do that on purpose because I categorize all the NPCs. I create all their tokens and I put them all on this page. That way, when I go to another page somewhere, anywhere, if I want to bring somebody onto the page and I haven't done it, I just go back over here. I grab the ones that I want. I'm not even sure what tab I'm in here. Am I in the GM layer? Yeah, I'll grab, say, these 5 characters and be like, boom, I need these guys. And I'll go to one of these things over here, one of these maps, and I will just plopperate them on there. And then suddenly I have them all. And then I can move them to whatever layer. If I'm like, oh, I don't want them on that layer, I'll move them to the whatever layer I want to move them to. I can change their layer. I can say I want them to all be on the GM layer. So when a player joins, they won't see them. They'll all be invisible. But when I make up all the other scenes, because one of the character owns a tattoo shop, I have the background image of the tattoo shop because this is a storytelling game. There's no grid movement. You don't do any of that grid movement and all that stuff. You literally just have a scene. You talk about the scene. You set certain aspects on the scene, and then the NPCs do things. And I have a box up across top for each player to have their stuff sitting. And then if they get a fate token, I give them a fate token. If somebody else gets another fate token, I give them a couple. And then I move their character into the right box. So I probably have to go back to the token layer to get this guy. Yeah, I got to go back to token layer. And then I'll move the characters into their traditional spots. I don't know where my other character is. I don't know why he's not on this scene. Oh, this is an old... And this is the reason that I change these sometimes is some of this is old character art that just needs to be moved to other layers and stuff. Like this should be moved back to the GM layer because I don't need to see it. I can go to the map layer, I can go to the token layer. And then each one of the characters has, I have a little thing here, showing effects they could have on them. They could have a level of mental stress. They could have a few levels of mental stress from things that they do. They could have physical stress. They can have fate tokens. They can have all these things on them. But I have all this stuff also just set up because I want everybody, every time we come back, we always are on a start screen. I want everybody to have everything set up for when they're ready to go. And they can tell what's there. So I can take these things and throw them to other layers and be like, okay, you guys don't have any of this stuff right now. There's no stuff for you guys to even see. And if I, where is it here? There's a rejoin as player button somewhere here. Actually, I don't want to do that because if I rejoin as a player, it's going to screw things up. I could look at their things through their eyes and see that none of this stuff exists for them because it's in a different layer. Celsius for the win. I just like Fahrenheit. There's more temperature variation because it has more degrees in it. It's more accurate. Though people really love their centigrade, Celsius, whatever. They love it. They love the numbers. But, so, in this game, when I create these background images, I just find something that typifies the place. Like, this place is supposed to be New Orleans, and it's after it's been on some hard times, bad things have happened, and this is kind of the image that I wanted to project that for them. But also on the start page, I have a reference for the main part of the rules. The 4 things you can do, and the 4 outcomes that happen with each. This is pretty much the core of the whole game. And it's there. It has a couple of other modifiers, and there we go. We're done. People say it makes sense, but it literally anything can make sense to anyone. I mean, I could argue that 0 degrees means there should be absolute, it should be absolute 0, but absolute 0 is negative 237 Kelvin or whatever. So 0 is a misnomer. So the other thing about this system is I had it set up to do all these basic things for them. I just found some macros that had a basic setup, and I said to myself, how is it going to work best for players? They have attack, defend, create advantage, and overcome, which are the create advantage, attack, defend, overcome. 4 actions, 4 outcomes. They go in, they say, I'm going to attack someone. My intention is to punch the punch the jerk in the liver. And I'm going to use his force because he's really heavily into force. And so then, boom, it automatically rolls the fate dice. And he didn't do very well. Actually, he didn't do too badly. No, it actually calculated out. He got two pluses and 2 zeros. So we got no negatives. That's a really good roll. So force plus 5. So he is going to beat the crap out of this guy. Because if you look at the thing, a superb is this. An epic roll is this. It's like, okay. So that's an amazing success. Now, you can look at all the different shifts and things that they can do with success with style. That is really how you do everything in this system. Really simple. You can actually do a reroll. You can add do fate +2 because you can put in your own reason because he's done this before. And so he'll get a fate +2. He's going to escalate that thing. He wants the guy down. So it already, I mean, it says the character, it has the description, it says what the role was, and it says what the approach was. So, boom, this guy has done it, and this is the reason he's done it before. Now, there are a few other things in this system that are, however you want to handle it. But, okay, so can I open his character sheet? Hello? Okay, not going to open his character sheet because it doesn't like me. We'll just open his character this sheet, or sheet this way. And he chose the art, I think the picture of Jason Momoa for his character. But this is the entire character sheet for the system. That's it. That's all you need. Because everybody has a high concept, which can change. Some people are monster hunters. Some people are like girl out of time. One guy is a wizard with OCD. That kind of stuff. Everybody has a high concept. Everybody has a trouble. And they have, each person can have up to 3 other aspects. And these are usually double-sided. Follow my own path means, yep, I'm going to totally make my own decision. It can also mean, no matter how much people really want to try and sway me, they might not be able to, because obstinate, I follow my own path. So you can use it both ways. He can be presented with a rational argument that's like, you should come with the party. We're going to do this thing. And I can hold up a fate token and say, well, you walk your own path, you know. Can be like, ooh, yeah, I want that fate token. So, yep, I walk my own path. And he will role play out why he's doing the thing. He's like, yeah, that's a great idea, guys, but I think I'm going to go do this. And he goes off and does his way. He Frank Sinatra's it. He has another thing called Come At Me, I'm the One You Want. And that is his way of taunting things against or at him. And I use that in fights to make him basically stand there and say, okay, there are a lot of horrifying things coming at you, and some of them are made to kill you specifically. But here's a fate token because, you know, come at me, bro, I'm the one you want. He's like, yeah, I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. He's refused, you know, they can refuse and go, no, this time I'm going to actually make the decision that he's thinking clearly today, and that's not a wise decision. But one of the best ones was old enough to know better, but hold my beer. It used to be just old enough to know better, but where's the fun in that? Now he changed it to, but hold my beer, because he's matured a little bit. A little bit. And every one of these things that he has over here, he's got his approaches. You can see his force is 5, which is astounding. Like, that's crazy for a person. But he's part, like, inherited power from the gods and stuff. Yelling Fahrenheit, you accept as 451. Burn the papers! Papers, please! So, every one of his abilities here it's got some kind of flavor to it. So it basically just has a name, it has a like kind of a style, and it really, you know, it says it right in there what it does. +2 against outsiders or +2 to defend against them because he's been fighting them. He fights outsiders. There's a real reason he changed into all these things. Listen, do you smell something? He gets +2 when using force to create advantages by carefully smelling or listening to his surroundings. He has superior physique, toughness, recovery, and lifetimes of wealth, which is fun because he has fantastic credit, like astounding amounts of money. So we got all kinds of fun stuff with his character. Now, when we get into Barnabas here, who's the monster hunter, he's been cursed, and he was incredibly sick, like dying all the time because he's pretty much like a Doc Holliday character. But now he got past that. It used to be marked for death. Now it's the darkness always threatens. And so he is paranoid about evil and all this stuff. So all these things that we come up with, we worked all these things out character-wise ahead of time. We got all the characters together and we figured out what they were doing. And what I usually do in these situations is, like, if we're here, each place can have... Oh, do I not have my... What layer am I on here? Boop. Yeah. Each place, I can put these out. I can throw a few aspects on the place and say, all right, the place you're going into is the old theater where they're having the convention. But you guys are in the backside of the theater, the old part that they're renovating right now. It has surveillance because they don't want their equipment stolen. It is warded because, well, you'll find out why. But when the wizard comes in, he's like, this place is warded. It is also haunted, so the wizard who can see spirits is going to see some things, but it's also bright because it's full of work lights. These are all aspects they can invoke. The wizard can say, hey, I'm going to use a fate point to invoke my ability to see spirits because this place is haunted, and there's got to be somebody I can talk to. The other guy can say, oh, surveillance, cool. Well, that means they probably have tapes. I'm going to use a fate point to use my ability to, connive people and go over and talk to the security people. Get those tapes to see who was in here. It could be, the bright thing is double-edged. The person can say, oh, it's bright, so I can see pretty much everything. I could also invoke it and say, well, you're trying to be stealthy, but you're not hiding from much in here because it's bright. Now, they could put fate points down and say, I don't like it being bright. I'm going to pay a fate point because I see where the breakers are. I'm going to turn it off. And then we take, boop, bright off of there, and we go, boom, dim. And it's going to be dim for, I don't even know how many rounds. I'm not going to change it right now. But you could say, I want to make it dim for 5 rounds or something like that before the backup lights turn back on or whatever happens. Hello, Dragon Noodle Soup. I'm explaining how I set up things for a role-playing game called Dresden Files Accelerated. Just a campaign in general. Just going over this stuff. So there's a lot of back and forth, and that's why, unlike Savage World, sometimes bennies can feel a little in short supply, depending on how you're using them. These fate chips are like super currency. You just need to keep spending them back and forth. You need to spend them, they need to spend them, you need to use them, you need to reward them, you need to keep them flowing, because nobody should ever feel like, I've only got the one left. I'm going to hold on to it for the rest of the whole session. No, you should always have one that you have available, maybe 2. I try to be a little pushy with them sometimes. Really play on those character flaws and those character abilities, because if you don't, sometimes you're going to end up with some stagnant gameplay, let's just say. So like this guy... he was on the run. He was a thief. And he had a fake smile for every occasion. If feeling so bad, why does it feel so good? And Fae me once, because he's been fooled by the Fae, and he is part Fae. But he has like things called parkour and glamour and superior speed and cloak of shadows because he hides a lot. So when we were doing some of these things, I would keep giving him opportunities to get all these fate points, because I'm like, oh, the Fae are chasing you and they want to get to you and they want to bother you, but somebody else was chasing him too. So he had a lot of opportunities to be tempted with, oh, well, you want to step into shadows? You could. There's a shadow just waiting for you. It's almost like it was made for you, just waiting for you. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable with that. But I'm like, yeah, but the shadows, invoking his fate. And he's like, you're right. Yeah. The shadow is a good place. Then he'll hop into it and then find out, oh, wait, maybe this wasn't a good choice. So we do that. But the reason that I do these things and put all these characters, like I have this little space over here. These are all the characters and NPCs that I normally you could frequent these areas. Like normally when they start up, I have these characters that they've met. Once they've met them in this area, if there's a character they have not met yet, like if they hadn't met Rinna yet, and I said, okay, you don't know that Rinna's there. These are all invisible to them, by the way. If the only character I wanted them to see, I could say, hey, I want these on the token layer. So when I go back to the token layer, I'll see him there. But since I'm not a player, I can't. I could switch the GM layer opacity, I guess. Where is that? Yeah, I could change the opacity. So anything right now, if I change it like that, anything that's totally faded out, this is what players would see for the most part. They'd see their spot. They'd see anything that I wanted them to have access to. I can swap these things and I can say, let's go into the token layer. And so now we go back out. They can see their fate tokens and whatnot. But everything that's hidden, this is what I see. That's what they see. That's why you can switch that GM layer. But I set all this stuff up ahead of time. Really simple, because the tokens are hooked to the character sheets. They're the same character sheets. They're the same characters. I make the master tokens over here. I put all of them here. And I just work from here. So I can go through here and tweak any of these that I want at any given time. I go grab any of these characters. I'm like, oh, I gotta work on something on Ruth's character sheet, blah, blah, blah. I need to change a thing here. I was like, is she still the bearer of the word? Well, yeah, but we're going to switch a thing around on her. Or this character's there, or this character's there. We had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, that was Jack's character, because his name was Jack Black. And he lived in the shadow, basically. And that was one of his things. And he was, let's just say, he had a lot of conquests. He seduced a lot of ladies. So it was a double-edged sword, because it would be like him, he's like, oh, I can seduce this person. And they're like, oh, hey, you've done this before. But also, there are a lot of people and women and creatures, you know, fey creatures that he'd seduced, that would come out of the woodwork and be like, hi, Jack. He'd be like, oh, hi. And then I'd give him a fate chip to say, well, you're preoccupied for a little bit as you're trying to deal with Esmeralda, who you may not have gotten back in touch with, and she's kind of upset with you right now. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But this is the kind of stuff that I do here, and you can see some of these are, you know, highlighted, some of them aren't because they're in the view. But if I didn't do this, then in the middle of the game, we've got the whole thing where everybody's in the tattoo shop, and they're like, wait, what? Where's everybody? Who's that guy? And I'm like, just a minute, let me go find all the tokens for everybody. Oh, that's the Bombay Club, never mind. Where are all the tokens for all the people? And I gotta go cut and paste and move. It's literally, if I know that I have the NPC stable, I go to the right column, the right group of people, the right whatever, I drag them over there. And I'm done. It's as simple as that. Yeah, Angry Husbands. He did have a guy come up to him once and get mad. This was a part we never actually ever even used in that part. It was from a different campaign I copied over. But so literally this is the entirety of all the scenes for this whole thing. Like we got Thor's Hall, you know, everything's slightly faded out in the background because, well, that's the way I did it. I go to the map. Yeah, I guess I actually did leave him gray. But Thor is Ozzy's kind of half brother. You've got the other place, this little underground fae place that they were in, where they had quite an interesting time, I'll just say. They had some fun. But this is the sort of stuff I do for a game like this, where it's requires the place, it requires a setup, it requires the characters that are going to be there, it requires aspects for the place, and I have it all set up ahead of time. Now, and I don't think I have it in here. Oh yeah, this is where they did have some fun with Baba Yaga and Her little goblin manservant, Bob. Bob. This seems closer to if the Cthulhu setting was a bit closer to the Savage World system. Ah. Yeah, and that's really is not fumbling over this stuff. Having everything readily available is half of what saves my butt running this stuff. Because I improv most of it. And not having those building blocks there, like normally I don't have to worry about it. I just, if we're in person, I have paper, we have a battle mat if I need to draw a picture, but I usually just explain it to them. Because, like if you've watched Fear of Ages Past, some people don't understand abstract combat and they want to know exactly where everyone is so they can do line of sight for everything because they don't trust the DM or the DM is cheating them or they can't see through a thing. I make the combat relatively cinematic. There are a lot of things that can happen in it, but there's no reason to be arguing over whether or not you're behind a cinder block or not behind a cinder block. And I mean a cinder block, not a cinder block wall, but whether or not there's another extra cinder block that's blocking the side of your head because somebody argued that you should be under 3/4 cover as opposed to half cover, and the penetration value of cinder block shouldn't be as low as a normal plaster wall because of all the gap in the cinder block and the material, how easily it shatters. Sitting there thinking, could we maybe just play instead about talking about material density? I don't know. That's just me. But if somebody wants to talk about that stuff and argue about it, we do play around with it. It's fun. Look, they were at Masada at one point. Yeah, all kinds of fun here. And they had a lot of people there. There was a lot of stuff there. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, the beauty of Atlantis. These guys went everywhere. These guys were all over the damn place. Baba Yaga's hut. We had so much fun. We had the funds. Now, one of the things that I was going to go over to here is everybody had their journals. And like I've told some of you guys, the guys took so many notes. This guy, Peter, his journal was almost 70 pages long. It was about 40,000 words. I have it transcribed elsewhere. And that's just one of their journals. They have done a little bit. Bob Yag. No, they did not take Baba Yaga to the strip club. She tried to strip their flesh off of one of them because he was trying to cheat her. But, other than that, they were fine. But one of the things that I do for the games is I create a syllabus. And I can make this bigger. This is one for the Wake. And this is what I was talking about when I planned the game out. I have the ideas on a small set of notes, and then I create the syllabus. It has the quote that describes not the quote, but the title, which is the subtitle of the game. And then it has a quote that kind of typifies what's going to happen in this entire campaign. And this literally says there seldom is a single wave, which, depending on how deeply people read and how much they think about it, it has a very deep meaning, or it could have a very simple meaning for them. Because Sessrumnir, becalmed, this is the Hall of Many Seats. This is Freya's Hall. Some people describe it as a ship on an never-ending ocean. Some people describe it as a feasting hall. In this, it is both. But in this one, it's becalmed because horrible things have happened. Terrible, devastating things have happened, and her hall is becalmed now. But I have the people, the performance, the people who play. Some of the extras they'll meet. Some of them, they know their name. They know who Anne LeBlanc is. They've met her many times. They didn't know who Bob was. They didn't know who Gemma was. June D. Doe. They totally knew who she was, but they learned a lot more about her in this one. Freya, Hulda, and somebody named the Caretaker. But then I give this all to them at the beginning. I give them all these pages, and they have this from the get-go, and they can read through this anytime they want and look at further adventures. So the first stave Sometimes it's act 1, sometimes it's stanchion 1, sometimes it's page 1, sometimes it's setting 1, sometimes it's act 1, whatever. This one I called stave because stave churches and music. There's a lot of music in this one. If you're playing a dumb strongman, you're not taking notes, and that's fine. It's not the player's notes necessarily, or not the character notes, it's player notes, because players sometimes want to know things. Even if their character might forget it, they like taking notes. So, and the thing is, I do have people, I've had a lot of people in the past who are like, I don't want to pay attention to the story. I'm playing a dumb strongman. Not exactly those words, but close. I said, that's fine. You don't have to, but don't be surprised if you don't know what's going on. They're like, fair enough. And that's fine. That's the way they want to play. That's the way they want to play. Each one of these staves, and that's why I give this to them at the beginning, because they can refer to it later if they want. They can say, what stave and what part are we on? I'll tell them, I'll remind them, and that gives them a milestone that they can track in their mind. But they can also just take notes on these sheets. I just give them copies. But each one of these has a name. It also has a quote that is very, very important to them understanding what's happening in the story. They don't have to, though. They can ignore it. But only dead fish follow the stream. This was specifically a call to two of the characters in the party who definitely don't usually follow the stream, and the other two who are like, let's follow this trail. So they had a lot of back and forth moments about where to go on this stuff. But part 1 is the Wine Dark Sea, part 2 is the Wounds Which Never Heal, and part 3 is Glacier. And now, if you know a lot about Norse mythology, German mythology, and old stories and things, some of this stuff will make sense, even back to the Greek mythology. You'll get some of these things. Once they go through a significant portion of an adventure, it could be 3 sessions, and they'll finish part 1. And then we'll get to a point where they're like, hey, I'll tell them, now is the time where you've hit a milestone. Change a thing. Spend a couple of those points. Do whatever you're going to do. Because next time we meet, we're going to be in part 2, the Wounds Which Never Heal. So you've completed stave 1, part 1. And they mark their notes with it or whatever they do. Yeah, if you do that, you have to take the penalty. And the thing is, keeping player and character knowledge separate is really important, because you can play the smartest person in the world who might still not know everything that the player knows. It's a good players usually are very good about keeping that separate. Not to the point of just being obstinate, like, nope, I'm going to let the party die because I can't figure it out. Like, well, you might be able to puzzle that out because your character is, like, really damn smart. And they may not know it, but they might intuit something. I mean, Sherlock Holmes can pick your stuff out because he's, very smart and also very methodical, and he pays attention. So you might be able to. Once they get done with one of these parts, we go on to another stave. This is usually a really big point in the adventure, like where this little magnifying glass is sitting, because I'm hovering over it. When they hit the end of one of these staves or one of these acts or one of these bits or chapters, something usually very significant happens. In this one of the characters did something at the behest of other people that triggered an event that made a lot of people upset, and that's where we left off and headed into And the Bright Stars Beyond. So this was, and people didn't notice this at first, but one of the guys picked up on it after we got to hear stave 1 is a hall with many seats, and he's like, oh crap, that has a comma. Like, yes, it does. It is a hall with many seats and the bright stars beyond. And then this next part was, men are so quick to blame the gods. They say that we devise their misery, but they themselves, their depravity, design grief greater than griefs that fate assigns. And this is everyone talking in the beginning part of this story about, hey, this person did this thing, but they were pushed to it. They were done. They did this. Came to the realization. Pretty much all that was because the person wanted something. It's very specific, and they were not willing to take no for an answer. It was hubris. It was designs on things. And that's where they got into the next section where they started talking about things. And we got the tail feather, the deathless, and the golden collar. But, so it was a hall with many seats. If you, whoops, nope, I don't want to see that. It was a hall with many seats and the bright stars beyond. And the next part was, behold, a fiery end. Which, when they actually looked at the sheet, they're like, wait, a fiery end. Because the thing that ended this second part here was them being in Thor's hall. This is the bright stars beyond. This is in Thor's hall. This is talking about their father, Odin, who did something rather bad. Hello, Chrysanth. This is a milestone story. Yeah, Dresden Files is all milestone. Yarp. Terry Pratchett did a kind of nice job with the patrician, but he can just appear from time to time. I don't know who the patrician is because I'm not up on my Terry Pratchett. But it sounds interesting. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and they got into the Bright Stars Beyond because Thor was drunk. He was upset. He was unruly. He was mad. He was doing things because, you know, his father had betrayed everyone and Odin had been cast out beyond the outer gates because he did horrific things. Everything was in chaos. Freya was upset. The character Ozzy found out that his mother was not Freya. In fact, it was this other person, this other goddess who had been imprisoned by Odin. And so that shook up his whole world. Thor took it kind of hard that his father had done these horrible things. When they went to visit him, at the end here, after they went through the tail feather, this, and the golden collar, they came back to find him sitting in his hall, drunk, waving his mug around, having fun. And he's got mad at them. He's like, "You here to take my toy away?" And they see him sitting there because he has a Russian Merv, the head of a Russian Merv under his foot. Because he went to a Soviet or Russian installation and he just said, "They're just running around, so I took it." He basically went there and he took a nuke because he was kind of under the influence of all the darkness that his father had unleashed. And the idea was that something bad is going to happen in Thor's hall, which was Valhalla, where all these souls live all this time. And setting off a nuke infused with magic there was going to be very bad. And then they saw Stave 3's name, behold, a fiery end, and they're like, no. But when we picked up the next time, there was quite a long and really fun role-playing session between them. The two guys, or the guy who was playing that and me, and the other characters helping, because they were trying to get the petulant, drunken Thor to release this thing and release the hold of the creature that was on him. Hey! I think I just got raided, but I didn't get to see who it was by. But hello, and thank you very much. Because nothing is telling me anything. Aphrodisias, hello! The ruler from Ankh-Morpork. Ankh-Morpork. Oh, okay. Hello, Circus Freak. Thank you for the follow, Aphrodisias. Did I get raided by a... Oh, I got raided by Mr. Circus Freak. Oh, I can turn your stream off now. I thought you were playing Rogue Waters. I didn't say anything, but I sat in there and I just gave you a watch. Feel raided by pirates, or at least by a pirate streamer. Yar! Wait, are these Kelsey Grammer kind of pirates from, down Periscope? If so, let's go. So, and this, like all the meanings of all these things, it had a multiple part to it. This is, Stave 3 was supposed to be behold the fiery end, and that's after they saw the nuke. They're like, oh no, why would Thor have a nuke? And the quote was, from the Song of Solomon, who is this that appears at the dawn fair as the moon, bright as the sun, majestic as the stars in procession? They're like, oh dear. They were very worried that he was just gonna set the nuke off in Valhalla. They managed to talk him down. They took the nuke away and they got rid of it. They got it back where it needed to be. But then they really had to wrap up a lot of other parts of the story once they got that done, because Odin had been cast out. Thor was going to be in charge of Valhalla and didn't want to. There was a marriage happening. There was a problem because the nuke that they took and spirited away didn't end up where they had planned it to be, because once they got it there, they're like, this is perfect. And one of them was like, it's kind of good that we didn't have any radiation from that. And they're like thinking, that is surprising. There was no radiation, because the parts of the nuke that were important had been taken out elsewhere. And there was a huge sacrifice on another character's part to actually stop the real threat that had happened, because nobody had quite picked up on it. But that was the possibility that could have happened. There was a possibility that they might not have seen that. Now, I don't remember. I think I had... Did I have... This is the Forest of Suicides. Wait a second. No, that was where Ruth was doing things. I'm trying to remember where it was. And yes, they did, in fact, at one point end up on Mars to get the nuke out of there, because there were reasons. And this was one of the turning point pieces and places that they found this pillar of ice they kept returning to in these visions and figuring out what it was all about. Once they figured out what that was all about, eventually, there were some very sad people. They were horrified, but they managed to do something to break the story, which led really well into another part of the whole narrative. And this is where the improv stuff comes in. That's really fun. Really fun. Choose to be related to set from a different... Okay. History of what happened to the king. Okay. I may have to take a peek. But once they got to the end of this thing, you can see this part of this story, when they ended, it was very melancholy. Some people sacrificed a lot to change what was happening. And you can see right here, after some of this stuff, it says Barnabas curses his allergies as he wipes his eyes, and Thor feels allergic to feelings was one of the last emotions that they had that happened in the game. We had all kinds of fun. And they went through all kinds. This is just them chatting on the side while they were talking, and things being sent back and forth to me while we were working on the story and everything that's going on. It was interesting. It was a very intriguing setup, let's just say. Pathfinder Rasputin Must Die. Never heard of it. You won't find me knowing 90% of anything about modules and campaigns, because I just don't. Because this is normally the stuff that I do, and I have some specific notes on things. I have notes on characters. I have notes on this and that. Like if I go, I don't remember if I actually kept any of those notes on this thing. I may have taken them all out of here. This is Anne, the Slayer of Gods. She's the bartender at the local watering hole. There's Anne. She is the eternal hostess. She was the first daughter of a giant, frost giant. And happily living in New Orleans as a bartender. Until, well, she met one of the other characters, and they had a really good time together. Crochet, the Deathless, he was fun. So I have all these usually just literal character sheets, but I have everybody sitting on my NPC stable page. This is just where I keep all the NPCs. I have another one in other games where I have a lot of specific monsters. Like, I'll load one of those up. I had all the monsters set up in the... Can I get back out of here? Exit the game. All right. Yeah. I don't want to post the topic. My games. Let's go back to my games here. I've got to go find... Not the Unshackled, not the Where is it here? I have a whole bunch of my games like gone now. I took them all out of here. Where did I put that thing? That wasn't the Avowed. It wasn't the Fall. Oh, it was the Fall of the Red King. Yeah. This is the one where the guys were. Oh, I gotta restore it because I had it backed up. This is the one where. Okay, let me restore the game. Why won't it give me the launch? All right, let me try and launch. This is the one where all the characters were trying to stop the kingdom from being destroyed and saving old knowledge and whatnot, but it turned out what they were actually doing was it was the doctors trying to save their father from Alzheimer's in a hospital. And the entire thing was just them doing that with all their cool characters. But this is my NPC stable and a place where I just had tons of creatures and monsters and stuff. The big Shadow Wolf, we had the Revenant, we had Nyx, then all these other specific characters, different versions, because this campaign, I had them make 4 versions of their characters at different levels. And so they had a lot of different characters, and usually I just had them in here. I thought this would actually open up the... Why is it not opening up the character sheet? My character sheets must be broken for these guys. Okay, well, that's fun. Open the character sheet. Yep, all the character sheets are broken for these because it's been in cold storage for a while. But I literally had all the specific tokens that somebody had made for different modules and stuff, and then I had all the specific characters because they had like a character who was a Haragon. There were a couple of different ones. They had all kinds of interesting characters. They had their mother, the soldiers, their characters. I can't remember where. Oh, this lovely being. He was so much fun. Bub. Bub was a very legendary, horrifying character that they had to deal with. They had so much fun with that guy. But I tend to always have a stable. I tend to usually have a start, which has all the characters and all their different versions, all their different levels. So they had them at... they changed the names a number of times. They had 5, 10, and 20 level characters because they went through time and did all kinds of weird things with their characters. And then I always had the place where they usually started in their little camp. I do have the outside temperature. I will check and see if it's changed. I'm just updating it through a little file. Let's see what we got here. Has it changed? No, it's still the exact same temperature. Wow. Wouldn't want to use AI art. AI art is convenient. I use AI art constantly in these things. If it's for a token or just a picture or something, I just grab it because for me, I don't care. I'm not producing this professionally. If I'm doing something, if I was selling it, sure, I'd get an artist to do it. But since all I'm doing is grabbing a picture for a person's face to say, hey, here's the flavor for the person, whatever. I use it all the time for, what do you call it? Inspiration for a scene. I'll just say, hey, give me. All right, Albrecht is taking forever to load up. But yeah, these guys are all their characters for all their different levels. All their bits and pieces, all their very specific things. There were some very specific things that they got here, too. A trophy from an animal you killed. I can't remember. He had a specific item in here, too. It's... there it is. It's the architect. He has an item that is basically, it's his arm. Because he was missing an arm, and he was, because he was a Goliath, missing an arm and had a magical arm grafted onto him. And in real life, he was a character who had been in a war and he had a prosthetic arm. So, and this character was a cleric of death who was basically going after undeath and injustice, and in real life was a homicide detective. So we have all these different characters that did different things, and I explained their whole characters to them later on because they had They each had their own little zone that they could go to. It was their place in their mind that was kind of like their mind palace when they figured out they could go to them. Like we had all these fun little places they could go visit. There were different memories in their father's head. And I thought I had their specific things. Yeah, like one of the characters, his place was in the astral storm. It was a storm within a storm within a storm, which he sat in floating on this little island because he was a monk, a Genasi air monk. And one of the other characters, I can't find her thing. I don't know. Oh, some of these, some of them are broken, it looks like. Shoot. Yeah, some of their places are broken, so I can't show you. But this is how usually I set up everything. I just have huge piles of these things all set up. I don't use battle mats a ton because I don't really care. I just work on all the fun stuff. Theater of the mind usually. But this thing they kept having to deal with and fight, the eye, and it is massive. Once they actually confronted it, this was the center of the Alzheimer's, the thing that was basically taking him out and killing him. And when they finally got through and they defeated it, so to speak, because they worked on things with some other people, that's when they got the reveal at the end when their father did finally die, but he remembered pretty much who they were before they died. The best part about this campaign, the thing I had the most fun with, is the character they thought the entire time was tormenting them forever. They hated her so much, and anytime she would show up, they were so upset. They're like, oh my God, why is Beatrice here? Because she would show up as this beautiful woman with this thorned crown and everything, but her right hand was just dripping blood always. And she had these piercing eyes. She smelled like medicine and chemicals and all these horrible things and incense. She was, in real life, their therapist and also their father's therapist, who kept dragging everything out of them to get them to kind of heal their psychological wounds and their issues with their father because their parents were abandoned. And they found out that the mother tried to kill a couple of the kids because she was so depressed, and she eventually committed suicide. It was a horrible, dark campaign, but they actually came through it and became, healed. Their characters worked through all this trauma and all this stuff to the end where they got it, and they realized the whole time the person they thought was pulling all the strings was this horrible monster was Beatrice, who was the lady who was trying to help them the whole time. And everything she was doing was bringing memories out so they could deal with them. And so when she was summoning all these creatures and bringing things for them to face all the time, it was literally them dealing with their own trauma and their demons and everything. And it was basically every time they would complete one of these things, it would make them stronger, and they got more benefits, and they got all these things. They were like, wow, these fights are horrible, but wow, they really pay off. And I'm like, yeah, they do. Because she had things like her flawed recall memories. She could alter memories. She could spatial split. She could shift their recollections. That's why a lot of these characters, you could, like they had these little red dots on them. She could hit them, and they would she could take them out of time and send them back to do other things. So we had a lot of funs. And they also found, the Deck of Dwarven Judgment, which was, that was a fun item to create, but also got them in a lot of trouble. Like a serious amount of trouble. Delete. So, anyway, all I'm saying is that when I set these things up, I do all this stuff at the beginning because I have to do it for virtual. And we played a lot of these virtually because, well, everybody was so busy. That coming up with a set of notes ahead of time was really important, because if I didn't have those notes to give them, they would have been a little confused. In the end, they were confused, but they figured a lot of stuff out. I thought I had, I got archived characters in here. Where are my handouts? Oh, everything's collapsed. And again, just like the vampire thing, I do the syllabi for these. Totally different system, totally same exact idea. It's called Diminished. The quote was, "Suspect and dread a thing for a lifetime does not prepare you for the thing itself." Quote by Merlin. They had an old wizard in here that would help them. All these people, Yogg, Calvin, they didn't know who any of these people were. Dark she is, yet lovely, in the gardens of ruin. I enjoyed some of these quotes and things. My heart is always propped up in a field on a tripod, ready for the next arrow. Plunk. Yeah, this campaign was a lot of fun. It was exhausting for them, but this character, he really had some stuff to deal with because he found these daggers, and I think, yeah, here they are, the two daggers. They were Sieglind and Sigurd. They were named intelligent daggers that were a pair. These were the twins that the mother tried to kill, and she technically actually did kill them. And this is his memories of those two. And in the story, she killed them because she was trying to turn them into weapons. And in the reality, she killed them because she was using them kind of like to, well, as a weapon against everybody else and the father. And the father ended up having to make the horrible decision to have her put away because she killed these kids. The other kids were in danger. And so the kids were all upset because they were like, "You're a horrible person. You sent our mother away because you were this horrible person and she couldn't stand being around with you. And you got her committed. You got all this horrible baggage and stuff because of that." And they found out eventually why he did all that. And in the game, they had a happy marriage. They attended the marriage as their characters and all this stuff. When they were going through time, they came out and they saw the horrors of what she had tried to do. And were like, "Oh my gosh, this lady is evil." They figured it out. And then once they found out, and we had the debriefing session after we kind of stopped the adventure, they're all just like, "You mean all that stuff was, all the stuff that happened to these people was in that? Oh my God." And I said, "Yeah, it was all through his memories. Is you guys exploring this stuff, his memories, what he told Beatrice, and what you guys went through when you were trying to learn why everything bad happened in your life." And the one character, not this one, I don't remember where he is here. It was Cypress. He was going through the same thing in real life. He is an architect and a creative person and a painter and all this stuff. He was developing early onset dementia as a young man. And so that was his kind of secret. I was trying to explain to him because he wanted a big flaw. And I was like, "Good, we're going to give you a big flaw and I will introduce it over the course of the game." And when he found out at the end what it was, he was like, "Oh God." He's like, "No wonder," because he was losing track of like a lot of stuff because he got some new powers that allowed him to do some things that kept changing things about himself. And he would kind of get lost in it and be like, "Why is it all happening?" And once he figured out at the end why it was happening, he's like, oh no." More palace. My inner palace will be prison chapel. So this character, her place was a void that she could send someone to. She could choose someone, and if they couldn't resist, boom, they were in this place, and they would be imprisoned in it. It was basically an extra dimensional space that she could change around however she needed to, but she could send someone there and banish them. She could go there herself, but she could take them out of the world. And the reason that was there and that was her ability is because in real life, she was a homicide detective and she could take people and send them to prison. That was literally her space. This guy was a psychologist, so his place was a storm within a storm within a storm with a rock floating in it in the peaceful center. This guy, his place was a very lively tavern where everybody knew who he was because he was all about fame, that character. This guy's one of the places that they took him to, and I'm trying to remember how we worked this out at the end, was the front of a war, because it was the only place he felt comfortable at the vanguard of a war. But we did have a bunker place that he went into. So we had all kinds of interesting stories and stuff there. This one, wait, did this one get changed? Yeah, that one got changed. I wonder why that picture is different. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I guess some of my images broke. Though actually, I think this is in 2 spots. Oh yeah, this one's in 2 spots. Yeah, this was an interesting part where the shadow wolves were chained to the tree. They had to deal with them, and they found some interesting things out about those memories that were hiding at the tree. So most of these campaigns, when I work on these things, I start them. They killed this creature. Weird. I start them with an idea on just a paper. I come up with an idea. I find an image or two somewhere online that typify things, and I will explain things to people. And because this is the Temple of the Raven Queen, where this character was hanging out. But usually that's what I do with these things, is I just set an expectation. I get the syllabus in their hands before we even start playing. And sometimes around the time I make their characters. I don't always have their characters made by the time I come up with the campaign, because this campaign, we were right before a Christmas break, and we were like, we wrapped something up, and I said, oh man, I just had an idea for a campaign. They're like, oh, cool. Well, we can start that sometime soon. And the next week, I said, you guys let me know what kind of characters you want to make. I'm going to need you to make 3 versions of them, blah, 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 because I had it already. And that's really what I just needed to do for them. I just needed to get the stuff going. Oh, yeah, I had all these NPCs down here. I forgot. PDFs. I don't have any PDFs in there. I wonder what that was all about. Oh, yeah, the Heartwood Sliver. Yep. The Madness of the Queen. Really gross creature. I had a really good soundtrack to go with this thing, too. Oh, man, when they dealt with the Blood Tree. Oh. Sorry, that was just a really gross... That was a really gross place. Passives, the canister. Oh, yeah, the little polyps. Polyps they had to deal with. They fought so many of those things. Those are the little things they were killing in his head, basically. One thing that was weird is I'll put these things in the game, and then they will never quite come to... They'll never quite come to as much fruition as I'd help, but I'd like having more, is when they were in the fantasy world, horses... Nobody used horses. There were no horses. It didn't matter. It was a fantasy, Western place. But everyone used camels, and they never quite figured it out. It's because the father, when he was younger, had a thing. He just loved camels. He thought camels were cool. He was obsessed with them. He loved them. But he hated horses because he had gotten bucked off a horse and he gotten hurt. He hated them, and he was terrified of horses. But he loved camels. So the reason, in all their memories and all their stuff and everything, it was always just camels everywhere. Everyone rode camels, and they were just like, that's such a weird detail. And when they found out why, they're like, oh, yeah, that didn't really come across. I'm like, damn it. They had fun with this one. There was a specific meat and all these things that they could eat from these creatures. Oh, I forgot about Cypress's thing. The stuff he got from fueling. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Forgot. There were some notes on this. That item was sort of important. What was all this stuff? Oh, yeah. Coin purse, lady's handkerchief, the tarnished cup, the pouch of the dwarf stones. Each one of them had an artifact that did things. I thought I had those in here, but I don't see them. Why do I not see their items? Spell templates, characters. Oh, there's their items. Oh, yeah, this guy, when he's away from combat for more than a week, the one attuned to this mark gains the level of exhaustion. This was because he couldn't handle not being in combat. He always needed to be in combat. Person was drawn to death. The Wisdom of Law, the Aura of Law, her side book. The Mind's Eye. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When attuned to the Mind's Eye, his charisma increases by 2. When attuned to the Mind's Eye, his weight drops by a certain number of pounds. He gets knowledge of good and evil. He takes psychic damage when he attunes to it. This nearly killed him because he rolled so damn high. And he gained a form of limited amnesia. This is how he ended up starting to get kind of down his route of losing memories and such. Partial amnesia, the mystical protector, the fortune. So all these items had very specific things that they did for them. This is the beautiful little scarf that the one character had stolen from Beatrice. The Beatitude, basically. Taken by a sign from the mysterious figure Beatrice. Her influence permeates the cloth. So he's a bard. He can't be charmed, frightened, or stunned because he went into her sessions like wholeheartedly. He totally pulled himself apart because he was very open with himself. He could do Dimension Door. He couldn't be charmed, frightened, or stunned because he had gone through so much tribulation with her. So I had so much fun making these characters, items. Her Dwarven Brooch, because she was a dwarf. Advantage on death saving throws. Speaks with the dead once a day and resistance to necrotic damage. Very simple, but it did a few other things. And this was his arm. The very strange Architect of War. That was his right arm. When attuned by a Paladin of Tempest, the following abilities are gained. The Architect grants the owner +1 to attack and damage, and all attacks made with this arm or part of the attack are considered magical. When you use Divine Smite with the arm attached and the damage is rolled, you reroll 1s and 2s. He's also resistant to psychic damage. So he can do all this other stuff. Boop. He could basically take them to his secret little hall. This is how he get to his little Valhalla hall. And there were a few different things here. The smite damage is changed from rolling 1s and 2s, not rolling, and the damage is automatically maxed out. Opponents brought to 0 hit points while using his arm are sundered or cut in half. They cannot be resurrected. And he also had the ability to suck up this horrifying damage they could do, which was fun. But when they got to fight the guy who had this sword, that was an epic fight. That took 2 sessions without any minis on the board. That was the sword of the Red King. That was their father's sword. Ah, so much fun. And a dagger. So these things were fun. Those daggers he had, when he'd throw one, he could teleport himself to it. So he would literally throw the dagger at a creature, teleport to his hand on the dagger, and then attack with the other one. So he basically could, he was a monk, so he could go all over the crazy place, but he could like thwack, be there, and then attack again, and then move around. He became super mobile. It was a hell of a lot of fun. How do I come up with these things? This is the way my brain works, Chrysanth. I think it's because I've had a friend tell me that she thinks I'm autistic, and that not like non-functioning autistic, but I process things differently. Like, I already have problems with like crazy sounds. I just hate hearing people chew and all that. But when I see something, I don't think I see it the same way as everyone else. I normally process it as like color, light, images, and like I get a feeling from it or a smell, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And so I literally, when I was talking to them, I had an image in my mind of a red-haired king who was sitting on his throne, dying, and his children around him. I was just sitting there thinking, oh man, that'd be tragic. And I was like, man, what if that was just an allegory? What if that was just a bunch of kids sitting around the deathbed of their father, but they saw him as a king, a brutal tyrant, and all this horrible stuff would happen, but they're still at his deathbed. It's like, what would have brought them there? It's like, wait a minute. And so I wrote down some notes, and that's where I went with it. And that's what I do. Yeah, I try to make everything pretty personal for everyone. Like Sign was the youngest child. I was playing him for them. So he kind of tried to stay out of the combat. He was the center of attention, which is, if you know what a cynosure or cynosure is, he's the center of attention. His name was literally on his sleeve. He was a very successful, very important person in real life. And he was all about inspiring them. But he was also Kenku, who could speak, because he had a very specific thing happen to him, which made him sort of an outcast from everyone else, but also made him very special. And his characteristics were, I lie about almost everything, even when there's no good reason to. And he pockets everything that might have some value. So he would literally, they would ask him almost anything, he would just lie. Like, how do you like it? And he's like, I've had better, even though it's really great. For no apparent reason. He would just do it. But he also absolutely loved his father, even though he wouldn't always tell everyone else. Because he was the youngest, his father was the one who took care of him, the mother was out of the picture, and that's why I owe everything to my mentor, a horrible person who's probably rotting in jail somewhere. And he's always in debt, because, well, he would always be in debt. I don't remember what he got. I thought he got I thought I gave him another item after the Beatitude. I don't remember if he had another item somewhere or not. Okay, guys. Somebody skidded to a halt. I found the little stuffed duck sitting on top of the refrigerator doors, because they can hop up on top of the refrigerator doors before they hop up on the top shelf in the kitchen. And I saw the little yellow duck sitting there. Like, why is the duck on the refrigerator doors? So they have been running around playing with it like crazy. They're nuts. Oh, it'd be fun. It's just, I'd have to have time. I would have to have time. DMing a one-shot is likely... The problem with a one-shot is you can't go this deep. You basically deal with mechanics in a one-shot, and you don't get a chance to go very deep into the characters, because if I'm honest, it'll take a good player a dozen sessions to really get into their character. Other people playing the characters might take them way more than that, until they kind of like pull all the levers and tweak the knobs and really get where they want. Now, if it's a fidgety person who loves tweaking numbers and mechanics and stuff, it could take them a long time. It could take them even longer, because I have players who they love changing things all the time. They're like, can I switch this power out? I'm like, well, you've technically already used it. Yeah, but it doesn't really do what I wanted it to do. And I said, all right, let's talk about how we could switch it. Because, people have seen you use it. It's a little odd that it's totally gone. Let's just explain it that you were testing out something that you'd learned from your mentor, but it never felt comfortable. And so we'll swap it with another power, and we will let the effects stand, but have that be different. I said, but when you're using this new power, we're going to treat it as you having casting it at like a disadvantage in this system for the first, say, 20 times you do it. And that way I have them realize there's a little bit of a learning curve for just changing something. That you can't just go, nope, I've got this now. This way, when they cast it, there's a chance that something will happen. Like if it's like that spell had an actual casting attack roll, and they were at disadvantage. And once they got past this disadvantage, everyone's like, oh my gosh, now that you're hitting with that's so much better. So there was a big learning curve, and they felt really good about it. And they enjoyed the switch, and they enjoyed the change. But in a one-shot, you can't do anything like that, unfortunately. You can have a lot of fun in a one-shot. I mean, I've run a lot of one-shots, and you can have a hell of a lot of fun, because for one thing, players don't really care about their character a whole lot. It's a one-shot. They're like, if I die, I die, just as long as I don't die in the first 5 minutes. And they will pull out all the stops doing things, because they're not worried about losing the guy. Whereas when you get like 15 sessions into something, people are like, but my character. Like, yeah, sorry if your character dies, but sometimes that happens. What is my Kick channel name? It is somewhere in my links here. Let me see here. Let me mute this tab so I can find it. I think it's just Richard_Frost. Yeah. Yep. I'll even throw it into the YouTube thing here. Burp. Wow, where's my YouTube chat? Dudes. I'm gonna check something here. Oh, interesting. Pin message. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, that's kind of fun. What is that? Oh, okay. That's just going to let me do that. That's weird. Wow, I have no idea what I just did. I just hit a button and it just went blarp. Okay, there we go. Wow, craziness. So, usually when I do these setups for, let's say this will take me, gosh, I don't even remember how long this one took me, like 4 days? Ish? Because I had to go out and find some of these pieces. Some of them I found on sites that, they're like, hey, have some free maps. I'm like, all right, we'll take a free map. We'll go with it. Other times it was just an image I found on wherever, some random place. I'm like, I could make this work for the scenario. That's fine. Because I don't have to worry about any of this stuff because I was not streaming it. I don't have to worry about copyrighted things. It was just random images. But generally, I only took things that were like people said, use, free. And I just found them and threw them out there. Because like when they're fighting, around the skeleton of this big giant with the things in its head and everywhere, there was a reason. There's a reason, but it just worked out well. Finding these pieces, using them together. I thought there was thought I had a note here about one of these, didn't I? I don't remember what it was. Oh boy, these guys had some fun in this place. Let me tell you, a tower like this, where there were these little nodules everywhere that were literally just casting magic missile at them as they approached. They barely made it to that damn thing alive. Barely. Because there were a limited number of magic missiles that could be cast. But when the whole tower is just shooting these things out coming at you from like more than 120 feet away, because they all had spell sniper. Or not spell sniper, but whatever the hell it was. The thing that I gave them, the ability to shoot the magic missile at double the range. Fun times. Irradiated sewer system map. Oh, the cats are just, they're just nutty. Dudes. Not sure I agree. I've had a few conceptual characters are great for a one-shot setting, but not for a long-term campaigning. I mean, you can. It really comes into like the player's ability to really get into that story, because say you've got 3 hours, and say an hour of that would be, if you're going a low combat campaign, you got an hour of combat. If people don't know the system, you got an hour and a half of combat. If people do know the system and you've got a lot of stuff happening in combat, 2/3 of your time could just be combat, depending on how things go, depending on roles and whatnot. Now, you can streamline that. No, nobody's saying you can't. But, I mean, you're going to get a couple of combats. You're going to get a couple of abilities. People are going to basically showcase maybe 1 or 2 things their characters do a lot. Because you're not going to get a ton of turns in there. If you get to do the role-playing, like my sessions are generally, when I run things for people, about 3 hours long. And we can sit there some nights and do nothing but chat. which is may not make for great TV. Yeah, and see that right there, Dragon Loose Loop. That's an issue too for some people because some people are just super busy and they can't play very often. I'm lucky that a bunch of the people in my real life group all work at the same place, so we know usually when we're all going to be free. And when we get into really crazy crunch time, we're just like we're not going to be able to play for weeks. So see you guys next year, type thing. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you have crazy schedules. It is tough. I wonder if I'm gonna do something real quick here. Convert to jump gate. No. We're gonna exit this game once. I want to go back to my games. I'm trying to remember if there's a Strahd one. Homefront was the other one. Why do I have? Oh, that was the one that. Oh, that was the one we played with Arudai back in the game. I was like, why did I have a copy of that? Because that's how it worked. The Avowed of Candlekeep. Oh, that was the one that I played in. Yeah. One where I made some characters into other characters. Oh, my other friends were making some games too. Yeah. Oh, I forgot I got some of these people have some. I guess I let them have games in my setup. Huh. Where is... That was Borealis. I'm trying to find... Is this the gift? Oh, yeah, this is the one. Yeah. After some other stuff happened, we had a lot of loose ends from that other campaign. And so we had to work on some other character bits and pieces. So we got everyone back into, and you'll see this is like remarkably similar to the other one. I copied a lot of pages and made copies of the games and parts and stuff. By the way, one of the other reasons they're really loud today is Max is inside because it's so cold. And I was like, do you want to just come in, Max? Because normally he doesn't want to come in. He's like, meh. I let him in, and he is tearing up the room with Graham. They're just nuts. Like crazy nuts. I thought I moved a couple other things. Oh, yeah, they had the strip club. Okay. Because the reason that this campaign was going on is because there was going to be a wedding. And the big part of this whole thing, this whole mini campaign, was them getting a gift together for the groom, but also a few other things. And one of the characters finding out about his parentage. So we had some times because they were dealing with, like everything, I can't leave it to just be normal. We had to deal with these girls. Where are they? They had to deal with Fern. They had to deal with Nigella. And they had to deal with Rinna, but I don't see where she's at. They had to deal with Rinna. And these girls were... They were very interesting. We'll just say interesting. I'm not going to give it away because I might use them again in a campaign. And then they got to hang out with Elfgar. Because they had so many people that were after them in this one, it got a little ridiculous. This one went a little crazy and off the rails because those guys really wanted to spread their wings and fly. Yeah, the strip club and the marriage doesn't seem to go great together. Nope, it's just that weird tradition that a lot of people do. And this guy was, well, he was all about, yeah, let's go to a strip club. And they're like, all right. Cutting into 2 to 3 hour episodes also makes progress a bit slower. It can, yeah. And it depends on how much people like the players talking as their characters and role-playing and whatnot. You know, all that stuff. So this one was a lot shorter. You can see it's only had one stave. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. It was part one was the dare, and part two was nightingales. And yeah, they had some times in this one. Where is this guy at? Oh yeah, their favorite librarian. This dude. They, for whatever, found him to be really intriguing. And every time they were like, all right, well, I don't understand how this is going to work. We got to go back to the library. We got to go talk to Chadwick. And this was a long time ago. So this was before, I think this was before the Frost Maiden Chadwick. But this was his domain, the New Orleans Public Library that had been revamped recently after one of the floods. More brothels and strip clubs. They were way more than witches. These girls, and this is part of, I've used them in my book in a different setup. These three girls are, and I never, the original campaign I ran that had them in was not on here. Or was it? I don't think I ever ran it on here. But they were the three daughters of this old man who lived out on a plantation, who was kind of manipulating a lot of things. And when they found out who he was and who they were worried because he was the embodiment of Prometheus, of forethought. These were his daughters. So Fern, it says literally, I'm the death of every moment. When they see aspects of a character, normally you see an aspect of a character, you're like, oh, old enough to know better, because the wizard could open his third eye and be like, this person is old enough to know better, but what's the fun in that, blah, blah, blah. When they saw these girls, they were terrified of her because she's the death of every moment. She's the casualty of progress. She collects all the moments that fall away, and she reaps that which has been ripened. They were just like, wait, what? What do you mean those are her aspects? And they're like, I'm really nervous around her. So she's unseen change. She is the moments that slip away. She's the feeling that fades. She is numbness, and she is regret. She was the middle daughter. And then the youngest daughter, which they all liked most of anyone else. She was anticipation. She's the sweetness of exploration. She was the swell in the overture, she's the beginning of all moments. So when they found out one thing, she has a lot of trouble saying no, loves to please others. In her heart, she'd like to do more for herself, but she still feels selfish. She was standing in a place for a long time, having a very sweet moment with people, and felt like completely ebullient, like really excited and really happy. And after that, she gave one of the people the hug, and they were just like, wow, that was an amazing hug. They left. Where she stood became this permanent spot where people would be just start feeling either overjoyed or a swell in emotions, or for some people, it was almost orgasmic to stand there. So when people walked into this guy's voodoo shop, he had a big chalk circle on the floor next to it and said, stand here at your own risk. Then people would be like, They stand there and be like, because she left this behind when she went places. And sometimes people would be like, man, I'm pissed off. Literally the guy's just like, go stand in the circle. And they would. Women are evil. I've never read American Gods. Are you gonna laugh at me or you're gonna hate me? I've never read anything by Neil Gaiman. I have friends who were just like, oh my God, this is the best stuff ever. I've never read any of it. It just didn't look like it would appeal to me. I don't know. I like Dresden Files. I like Jim Butcher's stuff a lot. He got long in the tooth in some of the later books, and I just didn't care anymore. And when I'm running Dresden Files Accelerated, I take the barest core of the idea of the world and then just did it my way. Because I killed off 2 of the vampire clans, and the other one never showed up. I obliterated them in the storyline, and they didn't have to worry about them. Go stand in the circle. Exactly. Well, and that circle was a lot of fun. Now, here's the other thing fun about this campaign. Dee, when they first met her, she was working at McDonald's, and she was just a pretty blonde girl who one of the characters was like, wow, she looks really, really cute. And they called her the bun girl because she came out with a big plastic bag full of hamburger buns. And she had the little McDonald's visor, the reddish shirt, and the tan pants, but they were too tight because they didn't fit her. And they were like, nobody's complaining. And they called her the bun girl, and she didn't get that they were joking about kind of her butt, but also the buns. And she just always thought it was kind of cute because she was somewhat innocent. She was taking the buns to take him to the homeless shelter. But it turned out, when they found out about her, is when the wizard first met her, she wasn't from this timeline, which is a big no-no in Dresden. You do not screw around with time. That's one of the laws. And somebody broke it, and they found out that her father had broken that because he took her from the 1867, took her from then in New Orleans to now. Back then, she had been married, and her husband had died, blah, blah, blah. She came here to be safe from creatures that were following him and chasing him, and her brother came, and her brother became one of the knights in one of the Fey courts, got corrupted, came after them. What it turned out to be was he sent her here to keep her safe. But in doing so, he broke a lot of laws, he broke a lot of things, he got the outsiders involved. It was really bad. But it was all to keep her safe because she's the heir of Summer. And they were like, oh my gosh, she's totally Fey. And the Fey are like, no, we don't claim her. We don't know anything about her because it wasn't Fey. It was literally the heir to Summer. It was an older power before even the Fey existed. And the dragon, I can't even remember its name now. The dragon from the Gilgamesh epics, the hill and the dragon, it was after her because it was trying to take her and take the power she had. This ancient powers are coming after her because of the power she had heir to. And she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. She technically is a muse. She is a muse of people. So her abilities are literally just makes everyone around her better. And that's why her high concept is a time-stranded muse. Her aspects were, I don't belong now. Or her trouble is, I don't belong now. Because she would totally get confused by how things worked in time. She'd be like trying to do things a different way. And she's like, oh my gosh, I forgot you have the phones now. She inspires others. She was the babe in the woods, literally. And she's the heir to the power of Summer, which she didn't understand forever. Until once she finally did, she was like, oh, okay. So she didn't have a whole lot of aspects, but they were so protective of her. One guy, basically, to save her, he stood in the path of an airplane that was crashing into the docks, basically made it come towards him, used up all his magic, burned himself out completely, if you know what Dresden Files. He totally burned himself out and suffered all these levels and permanent injuries to save her. They were taking bullets for her. They were doing everything they could forever to always protect this woman. It was a lot of fun. She was a very fun character to play. And one of the characters actually ended up marrying her. You don't like her? Oh, she was so sweet. She was literally the embodiment of a southern, just pleasant girl who was a hostess. The other girls were the aspects of forethought. And Fern was the epitome of a predator. She was frightening. She was frightening. They also had fun with Jacob, their friend Jacob. Jacob was The very faithful person who was in the military. They tried the everybody was trying to because they came across one of the swords that like Michael and everyone else had, and they're like, this guy would be perfect for it. And he's like, no, I'm not good enough to do that. So he passed up doing that. But he where is it here? Yeah, one of his aspects was he's literally wrestled the devil. And they kept meeting up with this homeless guy in an orange vest all the time who just was cordial with Jacob, and they just nodded each other. And for 3 years of different campaigns of them playing, no one ever specifically asked why he was so cordial, why those guys didn't like each other, until they found out that that actual guy that all that time have been hanging around with them and talking to him and bothering him and asking him questions was Satan, is Lucifer, the entire time. The homeless dude with a pink flip flop sticking out of the his puffy vest. And he did not like Jacob, and he did not like Ruth. He did not like those guys at all. But I got to have fun with the Clockwork Nuns. They were a lot of fun. So I go crazy with all these storylines and things, and sometimes they find stuff out, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. Like Gus, he was the guy who ran the guy's shop. Huge role-playing nerd. He would run role-playing games in the voodoo shop. Jenna was around, but Jenna, she did some questionable things. She was Gus's girlfriend, and they asked her if she wanted to do a few things, and she kind of got involved with the wrong people. They kind of lost her. But Gus went on to go actually become a monster hunter. Oh, Ilfa. The Bane of a Lost God. And her aspect where just wants to watch the world burn. Passion rules reason, and people are stupid. She was the one who seduced Odin to do very horrible things and win. She was a troublesome character too. They had a lot of fun. I had fun playing a lot of these NPCs. I played a lot of NPCs, didn't I? Huh. Interesting. So, again, usually when I'm making these things, I just have to keep in mind what players are looking for. And I usually had a note, like, he was looking for something to fight, often, because he wanted to use his force. But he also wanted something to kind of get answers. He was always seeking answers about his parentage. Barnabas was fighting monsters, but he was also looking for ways to keep the party safe. So he was always sneaking around trying to find, like, where can I find a blah, blah, blah? Who could I bribe to go get this thing done? Who could I do this to? How can I spend some of my wealth without these guys knowing to have somebody follow them and protect them? So he was incredibly rich. This guy, Peter, the wizard, was super OCD. His character was just completely OCD, but he was also a really powerful wizard who hated following rules, which got him into trouble. But his big thing was in the back of his voodoo shop, he had a magical, like a mini Warehouse 13 that he inherited from the person who owned the place before, and he never told the council about, and they weren't supposed to know about. But it had some horrifyingly powerful things in there that he was supposed to be keeping out of people's hands. That caused him some problems, including one of them, which was a chest, a really old iron chest that had a dwarf in it. The dwarf lived in it. He would just climb in and out of it, and he would go rest and sleep in it. He was a dwarf, like the ring of the, I'm going to get the name wrong, the Nibelungen, whatever it is, way back in the time. They would let him out, let him have a sandwich, and he would just want to go back. He's like, I just want to go back in my chest and go think about things. So they had some fun stuff. Yeah, and those things would move around occasionally and try and influence one another. They made some mistakes occasionally. At one point, the entire party died because used they accidentally used an item by trying to scare something and knocked something against it and rang this gong, which was actually a shield that teleported them all. It basically took them all to the realm of Atlantis, but none of them could breathe. And the next thing they knew, they woke up, but they were just their skulls sitting arrayed around this altar, and they couldn't move. They couldn't figure out what was going on, but it was somebody else using this ability to bring them all back, breaking a lot of rules to do it because they had absolutely no way to get out of that, and brought them all back, broke a whole bunch of rules within they had to fix. And it was quite a time explaining to them how they were dead without them understanding that they were dead, because I never said they were dead. I was just trying to explain why they couldn't move and why they couldn't figure things out. And when they did, they were like, oh my God, we're all dead. But they got better. They were fine. And in this campaign, it's totally possible to die, and we had one character who went out in a blaze of glory. It was pretty epic. And one guy who very nearly killed himself. I feel like I'm going to sneeze here. Because her sheet's blank. Oh, just a second. Don't want to sneeze here. I mean, I probably want to, but I don't want to on stream because I'll be sneezing forever. Anyway, she was scary because she was basically nothingness. She was a force of entropy, and everything she touched withered, died, fell apart. And they, at one point, were tasked to bring her something that she could feel. And that one thing they were able to bring her was a phoenix feather. And they brought it to her. And she was very delighted by that and led him on to another place. Dead or fine. Gesundheit, preemptively. There we go. I think I did it. I think I survived. Maybe? Maybe. All right, why did my... Okay, just checking. My stream just... Why did my stream pop up twice? I just clicked on something and my stream went blurp. I don't... What the heck? Huh. I don't know what it's doing right now. Anyway, so yeah, I've just been working on my DM book on the side, but I just wanted to hop on here and chat for a while about this because... You know, I was talking with Drag New Soup. I was talking with other people. I'd gotten some questions before about asking about, you know, how I did this and that. And literally setting things like this up were something that I kind of just thought all DMs who use like a Roll20 or a Foundry or a Forge or anything did. But I guess not. Oh, Aurora. I forgot about her too. The Nun. Brimstone. What a bastard. Some of these people lost their names, too. I wonder why. Heimdall. Heimdall was the problem. Chadwick. Mr. Chadwick. And Elise, their detective friend. I totally stole the character from... oh my gosh, what was from Person of Interest, the show? Stole her art. There was some interesting times held between that character and two of the others, because one of the characters dated her for a little while and then they stopped dating because she was getting suspicious of everything that he was doing. Another character dated her like twice, and they really hit it off technically, but also really disliked one another. They just loved kind of having sex. That was the end of that. Ah, yes. Oh, and Hulda. I always like making characters that I had fun playing around with this lady's eyes to make sure they got to that color. She was, yeah. She was a bad lady. She was very bad. This is technically that one guy's mother. She had been imprisoned by Odin. He had stolen her power, like, in ancient times to, well, get all his magic and his love of magic. And, yeah, pretty much used her power for a very long time until he got taken out. By his own hand. He did stupid things. I was trying to find out where... Oh, yeah, Barnabas Loft. Oh, yeah. I worked with the guys a long time to find good pictures that like, kind of typified the places they would live. So we had all kinds of fun. Ah, stuff from there. The hall with many seats. Yeah, I tried to find really relatively attractive people for all the men and women. So, like, you know, when I found a picture of a dude for all these characters, I wanted to make sure that... why is this not letting me go to the... Oh, there we go. Won't let me go to it. Okay, won't let me go any closer. Well, whatever. I tried to find relatively attractive people most of the time. There are some really ugly guys. Like, this guy was kind of a little icky. I do feel like I want to sneeze, though. I can't find this one lady doesn't... I don't know why I'm yawning. It's weird. Doesn't have an icon. I can't find her icon. There was a lady who runs the store next door to one of the characters, who's an older lady, who, I just found a normal-looking lady. And everybody treated her like their great aunt or their grandma, and they're like, we're going to protect her at all costs. Oh, it's kind of fun. Yarp. Oh, yeah. I had a bunch of... I had Bob, who's hideous because he's a goblin. Oh, that's right. They never actually went down in this one. Yeah, I can't find the other character. I don't know where she went. Huh. But I tried to make a pretty good mix, but quite honestly, I'm totally always fine with having the more attractive people everywhere. I'm missing a swath of dudes here. Wonder why. Maybe when I restored this, it lost something? Because there's supposed to be more dudes over here. It's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more characters at least. Huh. Some of these people all lost their names. I don't know. When I restarted it, it didn't bring them all in. But so what I'm planning on doing is I'm gonna likely be writing this afternoon. I don't know if I'm gonna be hopping back on to write or not because I gotta go take care of 2 things before I do anything else. Hey, it got warmer. It improved by 2 degrees. The temp went up. So it says it feels like this. All right, it goes to -12 only. All right, let's save that. So the temperature didn't change, but the wind has died down. So it warmed up slightly. There we go. Look at that. A heat wave-ish. Things are looking up. Yeah, well, sometimes because I've taken these campaigns and I've archived them too. So I don't know what that's a picture of. People just would put pictures in the chat sometimes. But yeah, basically this is how we did everything. It was attacks and defends and attacks and defends and attacks and defends. That's fun. Interesting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably run off here. Like I said, not the longest stream today. I was just doing some checking and stuff here. But I'm thinking that if I do hop on to write, it'll probably be my DM stuff, I think. I think. So I'm going to look here on Kick. Is anybody else? Oh, boy, I don't have anybody else to host into. Nobody else is streaming that I know right now on Kick out of all the people I've followed. What? How's that possible? Well, dang it. All right, well, that means I'm probably not going to be jumping over into anybody's stream. Well, thank you all very much for being here while I just went on a crazy diatribe about role-playing game stuff. I probably didn't explain it all that well, but I do things really, really improv-y, if that makes sense to you. I tend to improv a lot. Boom. Look, the mansion where some things happened and some people got some mental stress and stuff. Yeah, so I am going to get the heck out of here. I'm going to go see if the cats want anything, see if their water has a little film of ice on it, because the heated water up there will be fine. I have the water in the back and the front sitting on the heat track maps, but since the water is like, a good 2 inches deep, the heat will only go up so far, so they always get a little film of ice on top. So I have a little stick out there. I go and pop the ice if I need to, and see what they're up to. I'll go see if our friend Cat from next door, or wherever the heck she's from, is visiting still. She's mostly kind of a fluffy white cat. She's got nice big floofy, like a ruff and cheeks and stuff, so she looks really well groomed and clean, but she's got a little bit of like a little black cap on her head and black on her sides. They're a very cute cat, and instead of running away like a stray cat, when I like open the door to look and Calvino's looking at her and going up and going, she just sat down. She's just like looking at me like, really? And then later I come out and she's sitting on the heat track map, just sitting there kind of loafing sort of near Calvino, and he's just like, I'm not so sure about this. But they weren't fighting, which is a good thing. So, hey, your stomach feels better. Get another tea. Exactly. Don't have heartburn. So, all right. Well, I am going to get the heck out of here. Like I said, I don't have anybody else to host right now, or I'd throw you at someone. So I'm going to go, and I will talk to you all a little bit later. And if I get myself all set up and straightened out with everything, I will be back on a little later. Either I'll play a game or I'll do this. I was working on my aluminum setup in Satisfactory yesterday. Woohoo! All right. Well, we're going to go to the end here. And I will talk to you all later. So I have a heck of a lot of fun. I will talk to you all at another time.